Hi, I'm Cynthia the New,
And I'm Skyreader Sherry. Welcome to our show.
and tonight we're going to be talking about how Jupiter, the ruler of the eclipse that happens on December 4th, is going to be squared by the co-ruler of the eclipse, Mars, on the eclipse. So that's going to be super exciting. So let me show you guys first what we're talking about, right? Okay, so here's the eclipse, and here's Jupiter in Aquarius. So we're going to circle that because that's the ruler of the eclipse, and it is being squared by Mars over here in Scorpio. We'll circle that. All right, so Skyreader Sherry, what do you usually see when Jupiter is squaring Mars, like in an eclipse chart?
Doing too much. And it also tends towards people thinking that might makes right. And the difference with this square is because they both co-rule the eclipse.
Right.
Squaring one another. I don't think I've ever seen it before. And we're talking about Scorpio, and Mars in Scorpio is extremely powerful. It's investigations, it's looking at beneath the surface, and it's squaring Jupiter in Aquarius. Aquarius is the future. It's unexpected events, and Jupiter expands on those things. So there is just a real struggle here that can result in drastic changes beyond one's control. It can create unexpected money issues because, again, we go back to talking about Scorpio is taxes. Scorpio is other people's money. It also speaks to the inflation that we're experiencing. So I think this square is really showing that. It's not perfected, so Mars is still approaching Jupiter. So these sudden changes that are going to come up where we have to deal with whatever the event is, because it's like an event, it's not something we have control over. Scorpio and Uranus, Aquarius, when planets square in this kind of a combination, it's like karmic, it's fatalistic, it's something that's going to occur that we don't have a lot of control over. It's also unpredictable financial period. So I think we've got a lot to deal with in that realm as far as this square, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how you say that aspects from Scorpio to Aquarius are highly karmic, right? Because squares in general, right, are really karmic. And that's one of the things I tend to kind of focus on in my work, because karmic aspects tend to be the aspects that people really struggle with, because they're not just this lifetime usually, right? They're related to a past lifetime where you've done something or didn't do something, right? Like when you have a square to the nodes, for example, like it's a skipped step. So that's really interesting to me. I mean, when I'm looking at this, of course, I'm seeing Scorpio is co-ruled by Mars, so it's having so much power here. And the square to Jupiter, right, which is, abundance, having a lot of something, right? We talked about like squares to Jupiter, just like too much of something a lot of the time. So it's like, too many secrets, too many secretive actions, too much going on under the surface, and all of these things that have a really high impact on the future, of course, for the population as a whole, because Aquarius is the people, right? And then also, I mean, it seems like there might be issues with like the police again, because of Mars being ruled by the police. Of course, I'm guessing that there's just going to be like a lot of investigations, or there's been a lot of investigations, and more might come out about that because of Mars and Scorpio being the investigator, being the detective, squaring Jupiter. There's a lot going on about that. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing with it. I know that Mars is the co-ruler of this eclipse. Do you want to explain that really quickly? Because obviously Jupiter rules the eclipse because the eclipse is in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. But would you explain Mars being a co-ruler for this eclipse?
Definitely. Every sign has 30 degrees, and each 10-degree section has a planet that rules that section of the sign. And the second decan, which is the second section of Sagittarius, is ruled by Mars. And so that's how you come about what the co-ruler is of this specific eclipse. And definitely Mars is very powerful here. When Mars is transiting in the sign of Scorpio, this is definitely a time where there's a lot of investigations going on. There's subterfuge, there's secretive military actions occurring. And my real concern about this aspect in the eclipse is that Jupiter is conjunct the moon of the United States.
Really?
And it's being squared by Mars in the first house.
Oh, wow.
Which is the people. And this is an event that has a very significant effect on the American populace because we have Jupiter conjunct our moon. That's the people. It's in our fourth house. It's our home. It's our land. And it's being squared by Mars in Scorpio from the first house, which is other people. This is people in the country as well. Because the first house is the people of the country. The fourth house is the home and the land of the country. On December 8th, this aspect is going to perfect, and it will be triggered by the moon. Mm-hmm. So I would look for some significant event to occur on around the 8th of December. It could have occurred, 24 hours earlier, but it doesn't come into our awareness until the 8th of December. But the moon goes across and triggers that aspect. So I would look for some type of event to occur at that time for the country.
And potentially, looking at this too, this could be something that's pretty traumatic, I would imagine too, because Scorpio rules trauma, right? And Mars sitting there in Scorpio making this kind of ugly square to Jupiter is kind of unnerving, right? Especially because it's in Aquarius, which Aquarius likes to break things because it's ruled by Uranus.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we've got Uranus in conjunct the solar eclipse.
Yeah.
Eclipse. So I'm definitely seeing some type of unexpected event that's beyond the control of the average individual that is going to have an effect on the American people in some way, shape, or form. Excuse me.
Right.
At that time. So we'll be keeping our heads up and paying attention that day.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Eyes and ears open.
Yeah, because it definitely, this aspect seems like to be the real highlight in a negative way of this eclipse. Is Mars squared to Jupiter. Because it's the two rulers.
Right. And when I look at the eclipse in the chart that I use for the United States, it's in conjunct the sun, which represents the president. So it's definitely going to be something that has an impact on the presidency of the United States.
Yeah.
And we'll see what Mars in Scorpio brings up as it goes through the president's 12th house of secrets.
Ooh, yeah, that does not sound good for him. At all. Yeah, that sounds like that's going to be a big nasty reveal, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess be looking out for a pretty major event that has to do with the American public, the president, and our land in general, and real estate and things along those lines. So, and I guess that really wraps it up for this video. So next we're going to be going into the full moon that's coming up on the 18th, and there are so many astrological events occurring right after the full moon that we'll hopefully be covering in that video. And it's probably going to be a series of videos, to be honest. And we'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye.